Welcome and anchor down from the Vanderbilt campus. We are back coming to you with the 14th episode of the Vanderbilt Sports Podcast, JT and Zeke on West End. Today we are excited to talk about the win against Kentucky. Going to touch on Texas A&M, talk basketball, really talk all things Vandy sports. It is a great weekend to be a Commodore fan.
Yep. 21 Vandy, 17 Kentucky. You predicted it last weekend that we would score 20 points. You're only 1 point off, and it may have been our best offensive performance all season. My offensive MVP has to be Caleb Scott. 3 receptions, 87 yards, 1 touchdown. Guy was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, he was all over the field. If I'm going to give an MVP award on offense, got to be Webb. 33 carries, running up in the middle almost every play in the second half. Although he only had 115 yards, which comes out to a 3.4 yard per carry average, he was very impressive. He carried the load for the offense. Also, Kyle Shermer, very, very impressive game. 2 touchdowns, no picks on 166 yards passing.
Yeah, what about the true freshman? 2 SEC games, 2 wins. This is the future of Vandy football. Kyle Shermer, I like what I saw from him.
Oh yeah, a lot of the praise also has to go to the offensive line. I don't think Shermer even got touched all night. No sacks. Really, really good in pass protection. Solid in run blocking as well. The play calling got a lot less aggressive in the second half. Kentucky was able to stack the box, shut down Webb a little bit, but the offensive line really held up the whole night.
Yeah, overall good balance on the offense, good passing, good running. Few other stats to mention. Dallas Rivers 16 yards on 4 carries. Sherfield 3 receptions for 51 yards, and Webb also had 3 receptions for 13.
Yeah, the only negative part of the offensive game were the couple of fumbles by Webb and Sims, but those are things that can't really get too mad about based on the overall performance. Mason in his press conference said that Sims gets really down on himself. He had the fumble, he had the muffed punt. We'll get into special teams also in a little bit. But Sims is a guy, we got to get the ball. We got to keep getting the ball. He's not somebody you're going to put on the bench for fumbling, for making those plays. That's the first time really anything negatives come out of him, and there's no doubt in my mind he's going to bounce back next week.
Next week should be a big week for Sims, I hope. And moving on to special teams, I think this is the first week in which I can say offense was not our biggest issue.
Last week, too.
Yeah, that might be true also. Although last week the offense didn't look great. This week it was much better. Special teams this week was my biggest issue. So many punt returns, kick returns just did not look good. Dropped balls by Ryan White, and just the coverage on kickoffs and punts was terrible.
I get nervous whenever we have to punt or kick the ball. I really do. I expect it to go for either a long gain or a touchdown. That's got to get fixed. I know Openshaw's only focusing on punting this week. At least he didn't shank any. There's a couple of them that had no hang time, which hurts the coverage as well. But special teams is an area we have to improve on, just so we don't give games away in that category.
It's gotten to the point in which we're doing squib kicks to the opponent's 20-yard line opposed to kicking it all out because we're afraid of the opponent returning the ball. That should not be a problem. We should not have to worry about returns for touchdowns, but that's what it's gotten to, and hopefully they can work on that this week because next week that can't happen.
Yeah, being smarter with fair catches also. That's something that Jimmy was talking about right after the game. If there's 3 guys coming at you, just please fair catch the ball, give it to the offense. The offense is looking better. Special teams don't have to be heroes out there. Just don't lose the game.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier Dallas Rivers might be the guy to do returns. He just catches the ball, and that's what we need. We cannot afford fumbles, especially on the punts where the other team gets the ball around the 5-yard line. That's unacceptable. If we can put Dallas Rivers in there to do the returns, all he has to do is catch the ball. We don't care about the return at all.
Just this guy's like hands of glue on kicks. I've never seen that before. The ball literally sticks to him whenever it touches him. He's not going to break one for a touchdown probably. Might not have that playmaking ability, but he's also not going to cost us the game. He's a big guy. He's not going to fumble the ball. And with that, I'd like to get into the defense. Another really, really good performance by the defense, although it probably wasn't their best. Still very solid. Zach Cunningham, 10 tackles again. Huge shout out to Torrin McGaster. He had 6 tackles, and his coverage on that fade in the end zone was just phenomenal when he tipped the ball to Oren Burks.
That was one of the most fun plays to watch all season. Oren Burks also 2 picks on the day. There was that tip drill pick that was mentioned in the end zone, and the pick 6. Unbelievable. He read that play so well. You could see before the ball was even passed that he was reading the QB and that he was going to cut through the lane and steal that ball and take it for 6.
But yeah, Burks and Caleb Azubike have to be the key players on defense. Davis coming back from his injury, 2 sacks, another one for loss, a forced fumble. In his press conference, he said he felt like he was letting the team down by not playing. He couldn't wait to get back out there with his guys, made an impact up front.
Yeah, also Ladarius Wiley, someone we saw more of, number 13 cornerback. He seemed to play well, hold his own. And also on third down conversions, our defense held Kentucky to, 4 for 16 all game?
Yeah, 4 for 16 on third down, 8 tackles for loss for a team. Very aggressive defense. And with an aggressive defense, you might give up a couple big plays, a couple big drives, but there's also going to be a large part of the game where you just shut them down. Like we said with those stats. With that, we're 4-6 right now. We might be the best 4-6 team in the country. We still have a chance at a bowl game. You never know. Texas A&M, Tennessee, both on paper, slightly better than us, but they are not unwinnable by any means.
Also, don't forget, 80 teams out of either 127 or 128 make bowl games. That's 40 bowl games. There aren't 80 teams that actually have 6 wins. If we win one more game, we go 5-7. It's very possible that we're one of the teams that's called up for a bowl game. I wouldn't count us out, yeah.
Yep, especially as an SEC team, they like getting those into as many bowls as possible. And with that, we're talking about Texas A&M, 6:30 kickoff. It's going to be a chilly one next weekend. We don't know who they're going to run out there at quarterback. Kyler Murray has been getting time after Allen got benched and was injured for a little bit. They both played last week. Murray, the starter. Allen came in the fourth quarter, had one good drive. Who do you think is going to be out there? And does it really matter? How do we prepare for each guy?
I think it does matter. My best guess would be that Kyle Allen gets the start. They put him in their fourth quarter last game, and I think it's because they weren't too happy with how Kyler Murray has been playing. Kyle Allen is your more prototypical quarterback, maybe like 6'3", great passer, smart guy, not as great on the legs. Now, Kyler Murray, on the other hand, is one of the funnest players to watch. He's about 5'11", probably under 200 pounds. Plays somewhat similar to Johnny Manziel, scrambles all over the place, makes plays that look amazing, but he has too many turnovers. Kyle Allen seems to be the smarter pick for them.
Yeah, Murray would be similar to trying to stop Greg Ward Jr. Allen is typical pro passer. I'm not sure what the defense would rather see because they probably can generate a lot of turnovers against Murray, but he's also a really big threat with his legs. Another guy who's a really big threat with his legs, Trey Carson, their starting running back. He has 864 yards for 6 touchdowns on only 181 carries, averaging 4.8 yards. He's a threat. Definitely have to try to shut him down.
This is a great offensive team we're facing next week. So on top of who we've mentioned already, they have playmakers at wide receiver. Freshman Christian Kirk has 63 receptions on the season for 828 yards and 6 touchdowns. They also have a few more playmakers at receiver. We have a guy we've mentioned in earlier podcasts, Speedy Noyle. Doesn't play a whole ton, but the kid has a 45-inch vertical, one of the fastest players in the country. Unbelievable receiver. They also have Josh Reynolds, who has been a go-to receiver, as well as Ricky Seals-Jones, who is about 6'5" or 6'6", big target. Also was a huge recruit in high school, someone we need to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Noyle was a top 10 recruit overall the year that he came out. Talking about offense a lot, the one guy, if I could choose anybody that we shut down on their whole team, it would have to be Myles Garrett, defensive end. This guy just gets ridiculous jumps. He's a pass rusher. He can stop the run as well. I'm kind of nervous about how especially the right side of our line is going to hold up against him.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. He's a guy that can wreak havoc. He might be 6'4", 6'5", really long wingspan. If he gets in the backfield, he could have a lot of deflected passes. He could have a few sacks and really just make Kyle Shermer's job impossible or close to impossible.
Yeah, we might have to keep an extra back in, keeping like Dallas Rivers, keeping Ralph Webb to try to block, give Shermer some time. I think that's all I really want to say about the game. Are you good on that?
Yeah, I'd say so. It's going to be a tough one, but as you've mentioned, it's definitely winnable. A&M's not as good as they were at the beginning of the season, and it's at home. I give us a shot in it. It's not unbelievably likely, but anything can happen.
Yeah, that's true. A&M's defense, Kentucky had very good defense. A&M's defense not too much better. I think if we were still aggressive in the second half, definitely could have put up 30 that game. And I can't see our defense giving up 30 points again like they did to Houston if our offense puts in a good performance. So definitely a winnable game. And football wasn't the only thing going on around campus this weekend. Also had basketball game against a really tough foe in Austin Peay.
Austin Peay. I felt bad for them at one point. It was 21-0 to start.
I felt bad.
Then it
They
was
played hard.
28-2. I was happy almost when Austin Peay went on an 11-10 run after 28-2 because it was just embarrassing how much we were beating them by.
Yeah, really impressive how those guys played, especially inside. Played hard the whole game, even though we ended up winning 80-41. Basketball team looked good. Luke Cornett was a monster. Put up 13 and 13, a real presence on defense that we haven't really seen out of him before.
He had 2 or 3 blocks in the game. Also, Fisher Davis had a block. I think Damian may have had a block.
We had 8 as a team.
We had 8 blocks as a team. Defense looked great. Henderson was a good presence overall.
I think Baldwin got even stronger. He might have even grown an inch. Baldwin looked big. His handles are really good, too.
You can tell he's going to be one of the best point guards in the entire SEC, if not the best. Great leader. Shots looked good. And for freshmen, I thought Cameron Justice looked amazing.
His shot is so nice.
We've heard Stallings say that he may be the best pure shooter we've had, and I understand why. I mean, we have Fisher Davis, we've had John Jenkins and other guys, but Justice was unbelievable. 2 for 3 from three-pointers.
It's such a quick release, too.
Yeah, exactly. It looks good. It goes in. And he's a great all-around player, too. I liked what I saw from him. And also Joe Toy.
Athleticism.
What about that dunk from him? That guy
He went off
is
from
a
the middle of
flyer.
the SEC logo on that one.
He is so athletic. There's also a dunk by Damian on one of the alley-oops. There's a few alley-oops we should mention, actually. But Damian's head may have hit the rim on that. Or
it was
could
definitely
have.
over the rim. He was like floating in the air. Then the alley-oop to Baldwin.
That's the one I wanted to mention.
How
guard
often do you see
guard.
an alley-oop to your point guard?
Yep, that was awesome. We have so many people that are capable of dunking, so many people that can hit threes. I mean, there's points in the game in which all 5 players on the court are 3-point shooters. Luke Cornett looked unbelievable overall, as we've mentioned. When we have him out there as our center, pretty much everyone on the court can hit a 3. That's tough for teams to defend. Also, we often have 2 7-footers out at once, either Cornett and Henderson, Damian and Henderson, Damian and Cornett. We're going to be a tough team to play against.
Oh, yeah, and this was without Jeff Roberson at all, who's supposed to be one of our big minute getters this year. Stallings said he went through the first shoot-around, and then the medical staff didn't let him go because of a lingering concussion, but he fully expects him to play on Monday, too. Monday, the game against Gardner-Webb. They lost their first game. They play in the Big South Conference. They're another team that really can't match our size. Their tallest guy's 6'10", and their next tallest guy's 6'7".
Yeah, I expect that one to go somewhat similarly to Austin Peay. Obviously, Gardner-Webb is a better opponent, but it should be fun to watch our team again. We're going to absolutely dominate.
Oh, yeah, and then the game, probably the best team, definitely the best team that we played before we go to Maui. That's not saying much. Stony Brook. They beat a D3 team 103-32. That doesn't really mean anything, but it's kind of a fun stat to throw out there. They play in the American East Conference. They went to the NIT 3 years ago. They're a team that I feel like I've seen their name around at the end of the season in their conference tournament trying to make it into the NCAAs. And this is the first team that can kind of match our size. They have a guy who's 7 foot, another guy who's 6'11", a bunch of wings that are 6'8" and 6'7". And although they're not as talented as us, this is a team that should give our team some practice going to Maui.
Yeah, they're our first, I don't want to call them a test, but maybe a semi-test, a quiz for our team.
Yeah, we'll give a quiz.
We'll call them a quiz because they have height and they have more ability than the first 2 teams we face. Obviously, we'll be expected to win and win by a lot, but it's not going to be like the Austin Peay game in which it's us playing against ourselves. I think we're going to have a legitimate opponent in that game. Maybe get to see our starters play more than 20 minutes. Could see Damian get 25 or even 30 in it, play against an actual 7-footer. It'll be a good preview, I guess, for some of our opponents looking forward.
Real good warm-up. They have 2 guys who are both seniors who averaged around 15 points a game last year, 2 leaders. They probably shouldn't. They're not going to be too nervous coming into Memorial. It should be I don't want to say it should be a good game, but it might be a game that's like a 10-point game at half that then we pull away and Be fun to watch at least.
Yeah, exactly. That one's Thursday night. And just looking ahead in basketball, we could have a really good performance in out-of-conference play. I would not be surprised if we left it with 1-2 losses. We looked really good. It's hard to assess how we actually played against Austin Peay. Obviously, they're not a great opponent, but we really looked great out there. Among all the SEC teams in the first game, I thought we looked the best.
Oh, we knew that we have talent going into this year. There were two key concerns that I have. One, making a commitment to defense. I would check that off the list.
Oh, absolutely. Defense looked phenomenal.
And the second one, sharing the ball. There were numerous times we passed up on open threes to try to get it into the post, try to get a better shot. If we continue doing this, there's really nothing that can stop this team.
Cornette, one last thing to mention. Cornette looked great on defense. He was all over the place. He was playing the offensive players really hard, always going for the SWAT. His defense improved so much, it looked like, and that could make a huge difference for this team.
Oh, yeah, he looks stronger. He also looks like he got more athletic, like moving side to side. He looks more graceful out there.
And vertical.
He's growing into his body.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, we're going to go into the battle round where we make game picks for the week. I guess real quick, I'm just going to throw these two games. Vandy, Gardner-Webb.
Does this actually count? I'm
No.
gonna go with Vandy by, let's say, 33.
I'll have to agree with that one. Nah, I just want to pad the stats a little bit, but we'll get into the actual picks. The first game we have is LSU at Ole Miss. LSU coming off the loss.
LSU's coming off of 2 straight losses. It seems like all of their hope has been sucked away. That said, I think it's going to be a bounce-back week for them. I'm picking LSU.
I go for Ole Miss. I think LSU, they're out of the playoff picture now. I don't see them getting up for this game after getting dominated at Arkansas. I'm going to go with Ole Miss.
All right, next up we have Mississippi State at Arkansas.
Arkansas is really hot lately. As I said, they just beat LSU by a lot. I'm going with Arkansas at home.
I agree with that. There's a team that everyone has written off since that loss against Toledo. They're legit. They're hot right now. I'm taking Arkansas.
Okay, the last SEC game we're going to pick this week is Tennessee at Missouri.
All right, I know Mizzou got the win this week, but Tennessee is just such a better team. I'm taking Tennessee.
I'm going to go with Mizzou in the upset. Those guys are going to rally their first SEC game since all that's going on there. I'm going to go with Mizzou.
And just for the record, I think we've picked Tennessee games about 8 or 9 times. I tend to pick Tennessee. You tend to go against them.
I haven't picked Tennessee yet.
Yeah, I don't think you've ever picked them.
I'm not picking them. All right, we got some really, really big games out of conference. First, we're going to go to the Big Ten. Michigan State at Ohio State.
I think that one's game day. I'm going to take Ohio State. They're just the better team.
Yeah, I agree. Michigan State's overrated. I'm going Ohio State. Going to pick up that big win.
Mm-hmm. And now we move on to the Big 12, a conference that really ends the season strong. First, let's talk about, let's go TCU versus Oklahoma. Who are you taking in that one?
Oklahoma, as you say, you think they're the most likely Big 12 team to make it into the playoff. I don't know if I'd go that far, given Oklahoma State's still undefeated, but I'm going to take Oklahoma at home.
I agree. Baker Mayfield was a beast yesterday. He is emerging in the Heisman race. I'm taking Oklahoma in that one.
And last game, probably the most fun game to watch all week. It's going to be a lot of scoring. Baylor at Oklahoma State.
Well, Baylor's coming off of their first loss. Oklahoma State is undefeated. They have a chance to make the playoff. They have so much riding on this game, so I'm taking Oklahoma State.
Oh, there's going to be so much energy there. I agree. Just realized I'm taking for 6 games, I'm taking all 6 home teams this week. See how that works out. But Oklahoma State, I want them to go undefeated. I want them to get in.
I do too, or at least I want Oklahoma and Oklahoma State to go into that last game, both winning this week.
Yeah,
that would absolutely be game day.
Oh, yeah.
And for the record, so far, I am 16-14, whereas Zach is 18-12 in the battle round.
Yeah, and we have 2 games that we differ on this week, so it could be tied up. You could have made that big comeback. Well, I think that's all we have this week. Really excited. In 8 days on campus, there's 3 basketball games and 2 football games spanning this week. Really, really fun time to be a Commodore fan. We're going to the basketball game tomorrow night, Monday, Thursday night, another one, and then the A&M game Saturday night. We are excited, and you should be too.
Absolutely. It's a great week to be a Door. Thank you for tuning in, and anchor down.
Anchor down.